Hello and welcome. Welcome to March. I can't believe it's already March, monthly mindfulness. I know there's another a series going on right now, so we'll see if more join us, but we're trying a different format here. It's going to be a Teams webinar. And that way we can record it and then we can repost it on the Thrive site. And we can also, if people come in, when people come in, they're completely anonymous, just as an attendee. And that way, we can all just join in together and we can participate, of course, at any point, please, by all means, just because this webinar and it's attendees, it's listed as attendees, by all means, feel free to hop in if you have things to talk about or have anything to say with what I'm saying. So this month we're going to do, again, we're going to be able to repost this, and which I love, on the Thrive site. If you had trouble getting to it, I'm glad you found it, because we are going from the LMS format to over now just right to that Thrive calendar, and the Thrive calendar is going to from now on have the link for any of the Thrive Health Coaches webinars. Also for any of the mindfulness employee well-being webinars. We're going to start popping them over there just to make it kind of a hub of things, well-being. So without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and again, welcome participation. If not, you want to sit by and just check it out, by all means again. So this month, we're going to go ahead and talk about mindful movement and getting the spring is coming and the weather is changing, and a lot of people, including myself, are going for walks and really trying to get things going, get the body moving. It does feel so good, especially when that sun starts shining. So we're going to talk about how can we do that in a mindful way, which is not typically how it's been presented to us. And from a cultural perspective, we like to be competitive and get things done. And so this is going to be just a little different way of looking at movement. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share this PowerPoint. So as we have mindful movement, I am Cecily. I'm a licensed massage therapist. I have a degree in psychology and Reiki master and other things I do, but a mind and body technician for the employee well-being program here at Yale New Haven Health. Is everyone able to see the slideshow? Anyone can give me a thumbs up. Yep, great. Okay, wonderful. I just wanted to make sure, just because it's a little different format than I've used before, the webinars. We were doing Zoom before, and then if you've been with me, you know this has been through quite a period of growth and transition since Bud had it, and I know he set the bar very high. At the same time, we're trying to use different technology and different presentation formats and things like that. So as part of Yale, we align all of these webinars and things that we do along with the Yale New Haven Health's mission, vision, and values, as seen here, to something to kind of bring out in the beginning here. And just so if anyone, there's all kinds of, like I was saying before, there's all kinds of good stuff over on the Thrive site. So it's the hub for the Yale New Haven Health Wellbeing resources. So each of these has a different, if you go onto the intranet, a couple ways you can find it. If you go onto the intranet and you just put in that T, like you see down there that we kind of plugged in there, you can look up Thrive, and it will come up with this shape and has all of these different things: my life, my finances, my safety, career, health. This and some other things are under my well-being, but there's other, you can, on your own leisure, you can go ahead and check it out and see what other things you can take advantage of, really, because we're all multidimensional people, and we can help you with your challenges and just enhance your overall well-being, as it says. And just a reminder, we will be recording, but again, you'll be come up as just the attendee. So if you do go off camera, or off mic, you will be recorded. So today the agenda is just going to be about mindful movement. We're going to talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to go into doing some mindful movement. So it is an active, a little, an active, a little participation today. So what is mindful movement? It practices mindfulness with physical activity. So if you've ever played a sport, or if you've ever done, whether it be golf or swimming or soccer, even your youth, if you might have done things like that. Even if you haven't, often things will be like, oh, who can go the fastest? Who's the strongest? How can I get 5 reps in? How can I do, trying to attain these goals? But the goal of mindful movement is just to practice being present in the moment and having this present awareness within us and having a deeper mind-body connection. We can practice this through in any movement that we're doing. It could even be within competitive sports or within working out for ourselves. And in fact, it can help us not to injure ourselves as much, perhaps to get ourselves into a place that where we are more successful, whatever that means to us. Um, you know, so but a common form of it is going to be things that we might be more familiar with. It's going to be things like yoga. Um, and yoga, if yogatic movements, things like vinyasana, things where we are able to hold positions. Yin yoga, if you have never done it, is a great way to really be mindful about our movements because they are longer, more sustained stretches and positions that we hold them for a longer period of time, kind of falling into the deepness of the movement, kind of letting ourselves really encompass our body, mind, and spirit into the movements. Um, Tai Chi is another one, also known as meditation in motion. It's all about balance. If you were with me before today, we did a little balance meditation. That's kind of where, when I was looking more into Tai Chi, I discovered this idea of balance, and I was really, again, at the yin and the yang, the hot and the cold, trying to again balance ourselves through movement, and Tai Chi is one of those forms and ways we can do that. Qigong is another practice that's very common for mindful movement. It's a coordination of this mind and breath, really combining the breath and the mind into one, and taking the breath as one and the mind as the other, and then using the meeting in the middle somewhere there. So that's another form of gentle, mindfulness-based movements. And I will give you suggestions later at the end of at the end of the webinar, but great YouTube channels, because there's so much on YouTube. It's virtual is tough, but it's so convenient, and so getting it into our day is great. So again, yoga, gentle yoga flows. I mean, there's hot yoga if you love that kind of thing too, but you could be more. It's easier to be mindful in our movement with these slower, more gentle flows like Tai Chi, Qigong, and gentle yogas. Mindful walking, go for a walk. Don't try to break any records. This is not a cardio activity. This is just short strolls. Forest bathing is another one where we're gently often sitting in quiet, but you can also forest bathe in a movement perspective where you take a very slow and leisurely walk, but just very evenly paced walk, looking at the birds, hearing the sounds that the forest has to offer. And then again, short daily movement-based mindfulness breaks, and we do that on Wednesdays here, but you can do that for yourself, as we're gonna go through an example at the end of something that's really, really attainable and sustainable for most everybody. So a good question is how does mindful movement reduce stress? We've often heard that these other forms of movement, like exercise, whether it's weightlifting or cardio, running, jogging, they can reduce stress. They can help with anxiety. Absolutely, you get the blood flowing. That's fantastic. But it's also significantly, statistics show that anxiety can be reduced 42% versus the baseline of no mindful movement. And depression could be really relieved up to 61%, up again at that baseline of no movement. Um, and after an 8-week program, people say they feel less stressed, more calm, more able to self-regulate. That's a huge one. Not so explosive or so, really manipulated by the pulls of life. So, and it's not on here, but optimally, we're talking about 20-minute sessions daily. That's whether it be for any mindful practice. It's really when the mind starts the transmitters and the proprioceptors within the brain start to fire at a different capacity. At the same time, I would never say that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or just a deep breath is a bad practice to get into. It absolutely can help you get on your way to feeling less stressed, more calm, and more self-regulated. So don't underestimate the power of a nice deep breath or just a stretch at your desk chair. So that's something kind of to think about and to just integrate into your day. So we're going to talk about stretching. So we've talked about yoga, we've talked about Tai Chi, we've talked about Qigong a bit, some of these more gentle flowing exercises as defined as, programs of exercise. But it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's specific, and sometimes that can be very overwhelming. If you're able to do that or bring that into your day, that's fantastic, and I highly recommend it. If you can't, and that seems a little overwhelming, absolutely just again, gentle stretches throughout the day, deep breaths, and we're going to go through a very short routine of 5 stretches as we go along, but we're going to try to do them in a mindful way. And what does stretching do for us during the workday, especially? You're going to improve your circulation. It gives oxygen. If you come into any of those take 10s, you're going to hear from me about taking really, even imagining that oxygen going into those muscles, giving it to our organs. And it's it's really it is absolutely, we really fire, everything fires at a higher capacity or a more consistent capacity as well when we get our blood flowing a little bit. And that could be just done by gentle stretching. Lactic acid builds up in the muscles, even if we're sitting at our desks and things get very tight. There's a lactic acid buildup from this tightness in the muscles. And so by doing gentle stretches, we can release that glue that is that lactic acid that holds us and get that circulation going. And again, that goes to the reducing that helps ease the muscle tension. That's part of kind of how things work. So we're improving the circulation, then we're relieving this muscle. By doing that, we relieve our muscle tension, especially these stretches helping our neck, our shoulders, might even be our low back. If we're a desk sitter, if we're walking a lot, same kind of thing. I mean, all these places take a hit. And then the posture can actually be improved now that we've reduced our muscle tension. We're able to open things up. We're able to, I hear often, and what I do as a massage therapist, I have this hump, especially as people get older, I hear it all the time that they have the hump. They have and it's because of over the years, I think some of it's a little not as bad as people think usually, but still able to help ourselves by boosting our circulation and improving our posture. Um, there is we can, ease that tension and by supporting ourselves through these stretches, just throughout the workday, little stretches. And then this is huge cognitive and stress benefits. I don't know if any of you have ever, you get on a roll, you're in front of the computer, one thing after another, and but you're in a zone, you're clicking along, you're doing well. At the same time, there is a level of, feeling stuck to some extent. And I don't know if you've ever stopped yourself, kind of broken that flow, even though it might not feel right at the moment, but you really realize you got to get up. And then you do, and you realize, boy, I was really stuck. I just got up and walked around. I walked up to the water cooler if you're in the office. I went to the bathroom. I was able to look out the window as I walked past. I had a snack, where I moved my body. And now all of a sudden it puts things in perspective. And now you're able to look at the big picture a little bit more because you've gotten everything flowing. And this is just by getting up. And if you add more stretches, it can really help increase that flow and make you feel more relieved and more focused. And, when people are able to move around and focus, and it helps with, morale, especially if you are a manager or somebody who is in a place that is a supervisor. It is such a good example for everyone else. Once we go, I'm part of the Serenity Stations here at Yale New Haven Health. We go into different departments and we offer our services as part of employee well-being, where we have massage, Reiki, and meditation services. And I can tell you that as soon as a manager or a supervisor declines any of those, it is often that a lot of the other people in the office will do the same. Now, if they go ahead and accept it and they partake in our Serenity Station, and it normalizes it, and other people will be part of that as well. And it's amazing how the difference the department feels, from my perspective at least. It's a nice place to be. So just a little bit of movement or things like that can really help. So I'm sure you're aware of this, but just to go over it, if you do work, whether it be a more physical job, more mobile job where you're getting around a little bit, patient care is involved here, or if you're at a desk, you still will feel that neck muscle tension. I'm sure I would be out of a job truly if it wasn't for this upper back, neck, and shoulders. Again, it doesn't matter if someone is in the position of computer desk time, patient care. I hear it all the time because of the pace of in-house patient care. They a lot of holding, a lot of tension, and that upper back, neck, and shoulders can really bring on headaches, muscle tension, um, and low back, also hip flexors. So hip flexors are in the front of the hips. A way to open those up is actually just to lay on your bed when you get home and hang your leg off the side. Just let it go. When you're sitting, especially, those muscles get very tight in the front of our hips, and we feel it in our low back, believe it or not. So opening those hip flexors, letting them go, right? So can really help our low back. And another place we can find a common tension, wrist and forearms. If you're typing, I'm sure, really carpal tunnel being the super extreme cases. Um, and so another question is, and something again, I'm going to say now, and before we do any stretching, if you have any limitations, please, by all means, adhere to those, so you are safe and you feel well. All these are gentle stretches, but still, everybody has a different capacity for stretching. And so how to stretch safely? We're very controlled. We're not going to bounce. Maybe this goes back even to the 80s and 90s where people were, bouncing. You would see them bouncing. Please don't do that. No bouncing. We're going to hold them. We're going to hold the stretches. We're going to do it slowly. It is a labor of love, truly, and it really tests people's patience to some extent because this part of, for example, is a people love to, okay, I'm getting the webinar in. Once we get to the stretching, it's easy to check out and get to something else. But really, the most important part is actually the doing and feeling it within your body. And that's where you're going to get the biggest benefit. Holding each stretch for 15 to really 30 seconds to lengthen them naturally without pain. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say never go beyond, I would say 6, 7, but I shouldn't do that, but around a 7. So optimally, a 6 is really where you want to be for a stretch. You can go to a 7. If you're at an 8, I would say that's like red light, red light. like really slow down. And but hold that, what can you hold for 30 seconds? There are proprioceptors within the muscles that actually start letting go at 30 seconds. It's kind of a way to trick our muscles into releasing because naturally we're trying to hold on. We want to hold on to something, whatever it is. You know, our body is designed for survival purposes to hold on to something, but about 30 seconds, our body starts letting go. Those muscles start to release. So for like we can, if we can have a nice 6 to 7 for 30 seconds in any stretch, it's again, it's hard because it requires patience because 30 seconds is longer than you think. Um, Also maintaining good alignment, making sure your joints are in a good place. It should never be painful. If it is, there's something going on that, you know, stop, pull back, try again. Nice deep breaths. That's another way to get deeper and really get the most out of all of our stretches, our yoga, our Tai Chi, any of those things, always breathing and really integrating that breath. And if you're going to do more than that, you know, warm up movements, quick, short range of motion, before any exercise, really, range of motion with stretching at the end if you're going to integrate this more into your exercise routine. Excuse me. Stay hydrated, and you need to really hydrate before you exercise. But I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I didn't say talk about staying hydrated. So what we're going to talk about, excuse me, again, is seated. Some neck stretches we're going to do, releasing tension at the desk work, a little wrist and forearms. I often have people when we do our take 10s, wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes, any of those rotations just to get things moving and flowing. It's amazing what a hit our hands take. So in the wrist, we hold on, trying to do things or getting things done, or if you are in-house and doing any kind of patient care, often our hands, we might have one stabilizing hand and one other hand that we're doing something with. So, you know, give them a little bit of a little love. You could even get a little clay at home or a little stress ball. And then we're going to do this again, some seated spinal twists, ankle circles. I, you know, if you're sitting down, rubbing your feet on the floor, take your shoes off and kind of rub them, get a little friction in there, start getting that blood flowing. So things to keep in mind, and I really, I cannot stress this enough, is that we're trying here, the goal for mindful movement is to maintain very slow, balanced movements. I kind of think of the Goldilocks and the Three Bears here. So you have, you know, the porridge is not too hot, you know, this one's too hot, this one's too cold, and the one in the middle is just right. And that's what we're trying to go for here. Again, this like around a 6 or a 7, not too hard, not pushing it, trying to, you know, I do see again a lot of people over the years. I know that some people are really wired for success. They will goal purpose driven. They want to get something accomplished, and they think the harder they stretch, the deeper they stretch, the better it is. And not this is not what we're going for here. At the same time, we also don't want something that's too soft, where we're just kind of like rotating it gently. And this is a lovely thing. Perhaps, you know, as you're on vacation, you might do something where you're just watching the day go by and not trying to you know, focus too much, I suppose. But right, not too hard, not too soft, aim for just right. So that porridge in the middle, you know, not too cold, not too hot, just right. And then also, let's talk about patience. Like I said, 30 seconds hold, it goes a long way, and it takes longer than we think. So 30 seconds is pretty long span of time. And, and if you need to, something you can keep on your phone, you know, hop it up, hop it in. It's just a 30-second timer on your phone. And that's a great way if you can only get in 1 minute, let's say. As we go through these next stretches, you might find just one of these stretches and bring those into your day. A couple of these are two-sided, so you can get 1 minute, set it on your phone. Okay, I got 1 minute in, but hold it for 30 seconds, breathing through it, really focusing on being patient. And in the end, think about it this way. You're giving yourself 30 seconds, 1 minute, let's say, 30 seconds, and then 30 seconds, that's 1 minute. 60 minutes is an hour. 24 hours. So, I'm not there, haven't done the math right now, but it's a lot of minutes in a day. Giving yourself a minute here and there is not too much. So does anyone have anything that they would like to share or any thoughts before we get actually stretching? All right, so by all means, feel free to reach out to me too. I'm going to leave some links here later. So we're going to do some we're going to focus on chair stretches for the office, and these are going to be hopefully sustainable habits for you to keep yourself, fresh, keep yourself, uh, feeling good. Again, like I said, if you, once you do it, hopefully I'd like you to see how you feel right now. And then we're going to try to check in with ourselves at the end and see how we feel. Okay, just noticing that difference can really be a motivator. So the first one is going to be a seated forward bend. You're really bending down, touching your toes, and collapsing the top of your body. And that's going to be hard for me to demonstrate because you won't see me so much. But as you go down, collapsing the body down and and I want you to really lay your body. The goal is not to touch your toes. The goal is to breathe. The goal is to release here. But just maybe a little light music on as we go forward here. I'm not able to hear it so much, but I'm gonna hold that and breathe. About halfway there, I feel some pressure. Like almost giving almost a little internal abdominal massage as well doing this. Maybe you can find your breath. Let your head drop here. Think about elongating the spine, giving some space in between those vertebrae. If at any point you feel like you need a deep breath, go for it. Whenever you're ready, don't jump up slowly. We're going to just gently bring our spine and round it one vertebrae at a time up, taking our time, not trying to, again, this is not too hot, not too cold, just right. So these are slower movements. And then before we just jump into the next one, we're going to take another deep breath in here. Take the time to really get air into those lungs, letting it go. Might have just had lunch, maybe you push some things around. I'm going to go ahead and go into This upper body stretch, we're gonna sit, make sure, like, check your positioning, check your seated position. How are you? Are your feet flat on the ground? We don't want our feet crossed. Being mindful about how we are stretching. And we're gonna go ahead and sitting up nice and tall because we don't want to collapse anything, putting our arm over, and this is going to get a nice stretch in the side here. Right, just be able to get the arm up. If you're not able to get the arm, you can try to maybe put your hands on your waist and get a little stretch in there. Some people do have shoulder limitations here, so you can do something where you're just leaning over, but make sure you don't collapse your body. Keep it open. Keep things opened up. Okay, so we're going to start on that side. So stick with it, and we're breathing. All that space that we've made in our diaphragm, kind of releasing it. Great time to take breaths. Breathe deeply. I've actually heard people say that their hands get a little numb here. There are a lot of nerves, so when we start um, stretching, it does happen, but it just reminds us that, really this stretching is super important to help relieve some of this tension that we might have. There's a lot of nerves that run through the muscles here, so when they're tight, you feel it that way. And when you're ready, very gently and slowly going back to center. Another deep breath in here. And let's go to the other side. I have to share my personal experience a bit. Um, when I was younger, I played a lot of tennis, pretty competitively. Um, and then my kids are competitive athletes. One was a college athlete. I have others that are in high school at very competitive levels. And this is a challenge for me personally because I want to be like, okay, let's get to it. Let's get with it. But then I realized once I hold stretches for some amount of time, for example, this one even, I'm like, wow, we're somewhere here near the 20-second mark. I'm like thinking, wow, I didn't realize this was so tight. So I'm really trying to breathe into those spaces. And if you find spots or spaces too, be patient with yourself. Give yourself this room and this time to breathe, breathing into any space or point that might feel overwhelmed or tired or stressed, tense. Nice deep breath in and release. Feeling it in our bodies. The goal here is to be mindful and move in a slower pace. The goal is not to stretch more than we stretched last time. That's kind of a fallout of things right now. That's great, but the goal is to uh, give our bodies a little grace. Now, here's a great one, the torso twist. You're going to take the opposite as you see in the picture and go ahead and let's hold that. Use your chair to help you. Maybe even anchor yourself. Um, and look off into the distance, maybe just breathing. We might start feeling it in a different way, a little deeper, breathing in. Release. And when you release it, I want you to go ahead and release the breath and also release the movement in a little bit slower way. Think of yourself as a sloth. Even, they move really slow and mindfully. And then we're going to do that to the other side. You might get a bonus breath like I did. Looking off into the distance. If you have an office space, maybe just to get yourself as a reminder, put a pleasant picture on the wall or something that brings you a little zen, brings you that good feeling that you can focus on to breathe. Breathing into that spinal twist. Twist, twist again. Little belly massage going on there. Another deep breath in. And moving to the center. And a great thing to do is kind of define the center, and before you move to the next, take another breath in. And this is a series of 5 stretches we're going to do. Now we're on the shoulder stretch. This is a great one to this one is a fan favorite here. I'm doing it. You don't want to go too high and strangle yourself. You don't want to go too low either because you'll get poor form. You can move it around a little bit and how you might feel it, but take your time and then pull again at a 6 or a 7, breathing. And you can stay there for a moment. I'm just going to show you another way to go ahead and do this. If you're kind of short on time, you can give yourself a hug. Great way to, 30 seconds to get yourself a hug and you're kind of releasing some of that shoulder tension. Surprising how you might feel it in the front of the shoulder a little bit, actually. You might find areas that you're feeling it that you typically wouldn't expect it. When you give yourself the space and the time, it's really interesting what comes up. A deep breath in here. Gently release. Releasing the arm. Bringing that to ourselves. And let's go to the other side, okay? It doesn't matter if you have your arms straight or along your back, you pat yourself on the back. There's no right or wrong here. Where does this feel good? What's bringing you relief? Patient with yourself here, those 30 seconds. Again, the world is pulling on you, I'm sure, to do this and do that right now, but we have about 4 minutes left. Breathing again. Gently releasing. Finding a nice middle ground. And moving on to our last stretch. Another great one. If you are a desk sitter, putting your arm, hanging it down and pulling your neck. I always encourage people to kind of make sure their neck isn't out too far and not too far back, but again, just right. So much of this is positioning, pulling. Being mindful in how your body is connected with your breath, with your movements, and what a gift this is if you're able to do these stretches. If you're ready, gently bring your head back. You can even guide it with your hand a little bit, finding the center. If you need a breath, go ahead and take one and then pulling to the other side. I don't think I've ever met anyone that didn't feel one side more than the other, or you have a more of a challenge, but this is where the mindfulness comes in. You know, this is a great one to find, where am I feeling tension? Where am I feeling tightness? Why is this side tighter? Is it how I'm sleeping? Is it my pillow? Could it be my monitor? But really, before the mind wanders too much into that place, just note it and be with that stretch, visually imagining that neck elongating, imagining that muscle getting longer and releasing. Our mind is very powerful. We can use our mind's eye to really just imagine these things and bring it into reality. Deep breath in and release. Then back to center. Nice. If you notice, I tap myself on the head, kind of finding that center place. I wouldn't do my due diligence here if I wouldn't say, in any day, you can always bring a little self massage into this, into the picture here. You know, really get the blood flowing that way. Set your timer for 30 seconds and give yourself a little tender loving care. And I'm just going to show you a really great acupressure point, large intestine 4. It is between the thumb and the index finger. This is going to be our last active slide here. I'm going to ask you to hold this here for 30 seconds. As we go through the rest of the slides, I'm going to ask, go ahead and sustain that hold. It's a great one for tension release, headaches, anxiety release. So until we finish up, I'm going to go ahead and hold that. So here, again, this is going to be recorded, so you can go ahead and access this list later. But as mindful movement goes, there are 3 different yoga sites. Yoga with Adrienne. I know she has the free yoga videos. You can get a subscription. Sarah Beth Yoga and Breathe with Flow. All of these are great, and they, you know, typically most of these that I'm going to give you as a list have both premium subscriptions you can buy, or there's free ones out there. Continuing to breathe and continuing to hold that spot. And then I've also listed some Tai Chi. This one, I love this Body Wisdom. It's for beginners. It's harder than you think. And then some Qigong as well. This middle one is my favorite, I would say. Do get like, there's in the categories. So we can go back to those. I'm going to take one more deep breath in here and release it. And release your hands too. If you want to counter that on the other side, you're welcome to do that. So I appreciate you joining me for a little bit of a different mindfulness series. If you have any questions, check out that Thrive site. That's my personal email. So I greatly appreciate you joining me and trying something, a little different. And then you can refer this out and even share this recording with other people or revisit it. I do love the links that I shared, so hopefully you do too. So thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.